This is a photograph provided of mixed media, watercolor and graphite, number 18, Gone Too Soon. And some of the image, like the sides, is the backdrop. So if you just end the image at that orange hue that you're seeing,
okay,
is the actual dimension of the media itself. But she is crying. I don't know if you can see that in your visual. Gone too soon, graduating high school. I thought everybody was excited about leaving high school. Or maybe she's graduated college, but you know, since she's a high schooler, it's high school moving forward. I'm guessing the red and the black color in the background with the watercolor is the school colors. And I like the contrast between the color and the graphite. Being, you know, that minimalist portrait itself allows a lack of identity, you know, instead of incorporating your favorite color, your hair color, your eye color, that transition, so that others can relate to this concept of graduating during this epidemic.
Right. And what do you, I mean, also thinking, you know, the class of 2020 and the, you know, the school year and, you know, missing out on the things that, you know, seniors look forward to and the experiences that you look forward to your last year. I mean,
the one thing that I'm visually seeing up close to this is that there's some nice shading quality going on spots and then lacking of shading quality in other areas, which I would like to see more control on that level. But there's some really nice shifting of line versus, you know, the nice thin light lines to a bolder line to create a visual shadow that doesn't exist in the shading technique itself. But that's something that could easily be pushed and improved on in a here and there. I don't know if you can see that, but there's this nice dark bold line creating that shadow transition between the arm and the neck so that you can see that three-dimensional shift. And if it didn't have that bold shifting of some of the line work, it would appear super flat. So
right. And
that's
I like
the nice
the
quality.
depth, like the shading between like her chin and her neck too. Like there's, and the hair that kind of separates too.
Right. It's subtle shading, but I would like to see it pushed a little bit further.
Yeah.
Okay.
How, I remember my first year of drawing always told me not to be afraid of the dark.
Don't be afraid of the dark.
What I think is also nice too is like some of the washes that they have like in the background too.
Yes. Yeah, the washes have light and dark dimension even in the black, which you can kind of see there's some kind of wash in the face itself with the graphite. But I almost want to see the figure pushed a little bit further to pop it forward from that background, having such a strong, that was the goal, is to alleviate the self-portrait as the main identity to it, with the title being Gone Too Soon.
Right.
But again, that's how important titles are. Can lead your viewer to a mystery, another dimension. This is number 26,
Okay.
mixed media, watercolor and Sharpie. Steampunk is the title.
Okay.
There's a lot of details going on in this, and some really nice line work and washes.
It's almost like a Ralph Steadman quality to it.
Yeah, I like the tightness and looseness, the quality, the different techniques that you can approach pen and ink, as well as watercolor itself is definitely got some nice control overall in this piece. And I like the animation of the steampunk. Instead of being just so realistic, it's kind of got that graphic, not so much cartoonish, but you know, that more of a graphic quality to it, like you'd see at a, like for street art. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and you mentioned the control too that they show, and it's interesting, like seeing the washes in the background, like with the ink spots and stuff like that, and then also examining like the pocket watch and like the chains and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and even the wash within the figure itself, it's very connected to the background, but a little bit more subtle. So you can see the difference between the two, the foreground and the background. It's got a nice quality to it. And the line work with the pen is well controlled. Do you see this little chain link too? Just the tiniest little details that really help make it pop. And there's some nice movement to it. It's not centered. It's like, it's kind of like tilting into the scene. It's a nice quality. Oh, and it's Sharpie. It's not just pen and ink. It's watercolor with Sharpie.
Oh, wow.
It's a nice quality. Well done.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, I was wondering about this one. You might have been too with the photo that was provided. City Night Stars, number 8. Mixed media. I could see the beads for the photograph that was provided, but it's paint, beads, metal, glass, tiles, and cork.
Okay, and that was number 8, I'm sorry.
Yes, City Night Stars. I was intrigued right away by the multiple mixed media that I could zoom up on and see with the photograph that was provided. And I would have never guessed some of the medias that are being here. So paint, beads, metal, glass tiles, and cork. I'm guessing the cork is the shape of the buildings themselves, where everything else, the mixed media, is glued onto the cork board.
Okay.
And I actually thought some of the beads were buttons with the photograph that I was looking at, but overall I enjoy that they're not afraid to use dark, and the concept of nighttime with the windows lit up. I really enjoy that. It's hard to portray a night scene sometimes, and to keep it having that three-dimensional quality on a two-dimensional surface between the foreground and the background. And with everybody in quarantine, it would make sense that more buildings and windows were lit up at this time frame. City night stars. I'm thinking the stars are little tiny pieces of beads of some sort or metal.
Are they like a sequin, maybe? Because I know that there's sequins can be.
And the moon is a bunch of little pearly beads too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
This piece would definitely stand out more in realism, like, you know, the real deal.
And can you imagine like the way that the light would hit it too, with those iridescent beads and
right? And even the shift of the textures, where, like, if you were to look at it on a side profile, how much one building might stand more forward and shift the back of the building that was flatter to give that three-dimensional feel of the cityscape, and the shifting of the size and structures of architecture. I definitely enjoy this mixed media piece for sure.
right.
And the monochromatic color combination of blues and the dark, you know, the darkness of the sky having a darker blue, still incorporating some of this brighter teal colors into the sky like a night vision would have. So yeah.
Definitely.
I'm guessing that between the metal and the glass, it would have a really nice reflective quality too. Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, maybe someday you'll share this to us live, or we'll see it in a museum someday.
I hope so.
I wondered about this one too. I thought this was going to be like a newspaper collage, but it's not.
Okay,
This
and what
one's
number is that
number
again?
14, called Fragmented.
Okay.
So it's acrylic paint and metallic papers, or is it metallic and papers?
Okay, so fragmented.
Yep.
Okay. Oh wow. It has a nice futurist quality to it.
Yeah. A little twist of some cubism as well. And the shift in dimension of all the shapes not being the same size gives it that freedom of movement. Almost like that superheroes, you know, running so
Right.
fast that it just starts breaking up into these particles into nature. The acrylic paint in the background, in some areas it kind of overtakes the power of the figure itself. Maybe if there was more blending quality between the color shifts in the background, it would make the figure pop forward a little bit more. But the fragmented pieces coming out into it really help push that background.
Yeah, it has such a great sense of movement, and like how, you know, like the figure, like as we were saying, like it has so much movement to it and it has the fragmented quality, but then like, and there's that control there, but then you look and you see like the, you know, the blues. I almost want to call them clouds because they remind me of clouds. Maybe they're not clouds, but I like how, you know, and that's so loose. And yeah, it has an interesting contrast, not only with the color schemes, but with the textures and mark making as well.
Yeah. And there's some qualities of the background that really work well based off of the photograph, like this top right corner, there's more of that blending and shifting of the colors instead of it being like down in here, it's more blotchy. So that blending kind of smooths it out to create the background more behind it versus some of the areas here, the clouds are kind of dominating over the fragmented figure itself.
Right.
But nice, I like it. I can't imagine how time consuming some of those little tiny pieces of paper were embedded into it.
Definitely. And it's all acrylic, it's not mixed media?
It's acrylic paint and metallic papers.
Oh wow, metallic paper?
That's what it says. So I'm guessing that, you know, visually in person, that metallic quality would stand forward from the background more than the photograph is achieving.
Right. So do you think the red figure is paper or cut paper?
That's my guess.
Okay.
But I could totally be wrong, because there's slices through, like the full figure itself. You can see the break of paper where there's the background is kind of coming through. Can you see
Okay.
that now?
Okay, because that makes, okay.
But I could be wrong. Maybe the background is the metallic paint, and then the figure is acrylic paint.
Right.
Oh, if only we could pick the mind of the creator.
What's that?
If only we could pick the mind of the creator.
Definitely.
Get inside your head. Tell us more.
Tell me everything.
Tell me your ways. This is actually an original. If I don't step over my cord here. Can you see that? Is it getting cut off at all?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay.
And what number is this again?
This is number 6.
Okay.
And number 1, Boss, is the title. It's mixed media of glue, newspaper, and acrylic paint. Predominantly, it's all newspaper and white paper, black. Even the figure is all paper. The only part that looks like it's painted is on top of the paper, the number 1 Boss, and then the coloration of the figure itself. But the entire process of it is all paper.
Oh, wow.
So the acrylic paint is just making the image pop forward. I'm guessing actually the mug itself is probably white paint, not white paper, just painted on top of, is what it looks like.
Do you think that's a rubber ducky on his head?
It looks like a rubber ducky, actually, because there's like a little hint of orange for a beak. Nice call. Visually, that might be it. I like the use of some of the texture of the words and having some bolder black words and not all just the tiny text to create some more textural dynamic to the background.
Right.
Well, whoever this person's boss is, they should be really proud. And there's keywords that kind of still pop out in the background that I find intriguing. Theory, help, yawn, scent, man, the Dakota's small toe, effect, man bond.
Art submission sought.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of gives it another dimension that makes you want to like read into it a little bit more.
Yeah, and the medium, like even though like he's static in his mug, like it still has so much movement, like visually.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's sideways. So.
It's sideways for you?
What's that?
It's sideways for you? Or just your...
Oh, for my photo, but I mean, which is fine. And the way the figure is rendered too is really interesting.
Yeah, it's one of those qualities where you don't need a lot of detailed information to achieve what you're trying to accomplish with this piece. And I like that simplicity versus trying to over push it by creating, you know, the movement and line around the shape of the arm from the body. It's more of the newspaper itself, the way it's layered creates that shape, but you don't see it until you're up close to it, which is a nice quality of keeping that flat rendering.
Right. I would really like to hear the story.
Right? I know. The story would be nice behind it, but the title works well.
Definitely.